Hi, everybody. It's T Falcon Napier. Welcome to the Oracle of the Self. This is coaching session number 31, I do believe. We've been talking about a lot of stuff, and we've gone down many a little, what do you call them?
Rabbit holes?
Well, thank you. We've gone down some rabbit holes. We've veered off our little path. We've done all this kind of stuff. I kind of feel like I'd like to get back to some core stuff I just don't think you guys have been exposed to yet. So let's
Look, England is in.
yeah, well, it's way that it is. It's the way that it is. So right now I should be showing you the regular landing page for our website. By the way, we switched to membership website services that when we were originally building just became infinitely too complicated to begin to figure out how to make it work. And so we're building this out now in Customer Hub. So you'll watch this website change a good bit because a lot of this stuff like accessing your member resources or becoming a member for that or getting to the training, that's all going to be part of Customer Hub. So that should happen next week or so. Lord willing and the creek don't rise.
Well, the creek ain't rising.
Yeah, although I wouldn't mind the creek rising, quite honestly. But the one thing you guys do need to know about is that this is still the page that you would go to if you wanted to access your online ChangeWorks system. And all of you certainly have access to the system. If for whatever reason you can't get in or you lost your number or whatever, just let us know. We'll be more than happy to get you in there. But you click on System Access, and then it's going to ask you to put in your username just as a reminder without exception. Although we've had, literally thousands of people we've added to the system. It is your first name and last name with no punctuation, no capital letters. We default your username to that. That's it. It's just first name, last name, slammed together, no capitals, no characters, nothing like that at all. So wanted to keep it pretty simple. That's why I'm T Napier. And then your password is password unless you deliberately changed it. So, and we do encourage you to change it, but honestly, there's nothing that's particularly private or nothing on this website is going to pose anyone any problem for anything. So I don't think there's anything to worry about it. We don't talk up there, money is never touched on this website. So nothing that's sacred. But anyway, when you land to the ChangeWorks system, you're going to have a few little things to choose from in your upper navigation. The only one that's really going to matter for you is dashboard, because home takes you here and log out takes you away. So, and you won't have admin, obviously. I'm an administrator. So anyway, but what you want to look at is my personal ChangeGrid. Now, just so you know what the rest of these are, when the professionals who have got certification to use this with individual clients or do group profiling, well, they come down and they go, well, let's create a profile. We'll view the profiles I've made, and we can do all these tags and look at the account and all that sort of stuff. But I think if you sign up and you get only my personal ChangeGrid, I don't think the rest of these things even show. But I wouldn't know because I can't see that. They don't. It's just you just see my personal ChangeGrid.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, then just kind of know that's what these things are. But if you click on my personal ChangeGrid, what I want you to know about this is that I want you to think of it as being a living document, a living tool, because every time you come to it, it can be picked up upon where you left off. You can delete activities, you can add activities, you can go in and change your ratings. So just think of this as being something that's very organic, very in the moment, meeting you where you are. You can save your work, but you can't save it as like a separate sort of a thing. I'll show you how you might be able to look at it, but this was never intended to be something that people would print out or email or anything like that. It was just something you could go to your phone, you could go to the website, and you could use the ChangeGrid to figure out what's going on with your level of productive tension. And so anyway, that's what this is. So you craft some activities. And I believe we were working with Anja's situation. This is several sessions ago now, but she was talking about when she goes to the gym, that any one activity can be broken down into a lot of smaller activities. And so Anja kind of broke her workout into core training, cardio training, weight training, stretching, and you do need to get there and you do need to get dressed. And we started to fill these all out, but I think just our discussion about completing the core training kind of got us off on a tangent. That was the word I was looking for, on a tangent. And we, talked about where we ended up instead of going deeper in this. And so, Anja, I'd like us to return to your profile and see what we can plot here for people. All right.
What
So,
about getting up in the morning? That's a very challenging task.
okay, Anja, you want that on your list?
Yeah. Oh no, that's Anja.
That's Anja. Yeah. You'll
Hey, no, you said you wouldn't tell. Drum roll, please.
That's good. That's good. All right. So, Anja, do you want to just work with these 6 or do you want to add anything to it?
Oh, yes. Yes.
All right.
Back stretches, back work, back exercises, strengthening back.
Strengthening, THENING, strengthening my back. Okay, great. All right, now you guys can have as many activities as you want. And by as many as you want, I mean, you could go up to hundreds if you want to, but I will tell you that it becomes impractical at a certain point because it's a lot to scroll through, it's a lot to select from. And then if you want to display the change grid, the more activities you choose to look at the same time, the more visual clutter you end up looking at. And so if you really just want to use this the way that we at least thought people would use it, I'd say try to keep your activity list under a dozen. You could go again. You can have as many as you want, but a dozen seems to be kind of a manageable sort of a number to play with. Okay, so now after you list an activity, you want to go in and rate yourself, and you can change these ratings if you filled it out once before. But let's just jump in with number 2, completing my cardio training. So, Anja, how
Yes.
big of a job is it for you to get your cardio training done?
I don't think of it as a chore. I enjoy it. So,
So
I
how
like,
big is it? So this is about
Oh.
the amount of resources it uses. So how much time it takes, how much.
it's significant.
20 minutes?
But you have to get there, you have to get on it, you gotta.
Yep. Cool up, warm up, cool down.
Half
Does
an hour?
Does it feel like it's more or less, bigger or smaller than doing your core training?
Not equal.
It's about equal.
About equal. So we can just give it a 3. So now everyone remember, size is just a way for us to appreciate, acknowledge, factor in the resources that this task is going to require. So that's what this is all about. Now, did I miss?
That's what she said.
All right, I'll listen to the recording and figure it out.
Oh.
Okay, so now, how do you rate your ability to get your cardio training done? So,
10, because I'll work my ass off to do it. I will do it.
all right, you will do it.
yeah.
Remember that's the answer. That's one of the answers the change grid is going to give you, the likelihood of you getting it done. And so if you want to kind of just focus on this, how would you rate your ability to get the cardio training done? You gave yourself a 12 for the core training, so whatever you want.
7.
A 7, all right.
I think I'd have to take my ability on the core training down to a 7 too.
All right, let's go ahead and do that. So again, you guys can change anything you want whenever you want. You can always do that. And by the way, once in a while, click on Save My Work, because the system does time you out if you don't do anything interactive over X amount of time. Okay, how challenging is it to get your cardio training done?
8's good.
8's good. And
Yeah.
how important is it?
Oh, you're pretty damn good at just doing it.
Well, yeah, but I don't see. Here's the thing: it's difficult and all that happy crap, but I just freaking do it because I want to get it done.
Right,
There's-
and yeah, and that's because that's going to resonate perfectly with where you're going to be landing on the change grid. In fact, for just a second, I'm going to give that a 12.
Right.
And then I'm just going to say, I want to look at, well, those two activities have identical numbers. Look at that. So they're going to plot at the exact same spot, place on the change grid. But let's go ahead and say, no, let's just look at those two. They'll plot right next to each other. And you say, let me see the change grid. And there you are. So
Mm.
when we're looking at the particular levels of tension, you're definitely solidly in power. But you're ever so slightly above the heart line. In fact, let's change this background image to the composite so you see these reference things. So, I mean, look where you are. You're kind of like an expressive, amiable driver. So what does that location tell us? And also, again, I'm pointing these things out because you guys should be able to integrate all these insights that you have gained over this training. And instead of seeing this layer by layer, you're seeing through the layers. And so when I look at this, you are very much on the edge of execution, still ever so slightly in intention, but you said you go ahead and make yourself do it. So that's, see there, I'd have to be way over here. But I think that what you're basically saying is like, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm getting it done. It's all happening. My intention is strong. My follow through is there. I'm on darn close to the heart line. So what else would you say about this? Or what would you guys say about Anja when it
I
comes?
would say she enjoys doing it.
She enjoys doing it. Tell us where you're getting the enjoyment part out of
Well,
it.
she's in power. She's
Yep.
in control.
Mhm,
She's doing something that she wants to do.
mhm.
So I would say that puts her in a very good spot.
A very good spot. So let's look at what the energies are. So primarily, Anja is a driver when it comes to getting that workout done. Now, keep in mind the driver covers a very large territory and she's over here. Well, she's in the amiable driver sub-quadrant around that. So what do we know about an amiable driver? They want to get something done, but they want to get something done while honoring, respecting, factoring in, etc. The thought that this is a people kind of a task. And
Yeah, maybe she likes to work out with other people
maybe
or challenge herself.
Yep. And look, her tertiary energy is expressive. She wants to have fun while she's doing it. The expressive energy wants to feel something. So like they're accomplishing something, they're testing something, and they're having a good time because she is in power. She's got the confidence, she's got the ability and all that sort of stuff. And again, she's still inside of the green circle.
So
So
I kind of get the perception that that area too sets the conditions that increase the probability of success. So it kind of sets yourself up for success. Whereas if you didn't have some kind of preparation or go through something that engages you, moves you toward the execution, it'll be too
yeah,
easy to just check out.
right. And so let's look at that for just a second. So Anja, one of the activities that you have here is to drive to the gym. So how do you rate how big of a task is it to drive to the gym?
It's not a big deal at all.
We need a number from 0 to 12.
2, 1,
2, 1, it's you pick 2, 1.
1.
1 it is. How about your ability to drive to the gym?
That's pretty high. 10.
10? I would
Well,
have
we have
said it.
2 reliable cars.
I'm going to say, and you know how to drive. So 10 or higher is just fine. You'll see it really doesn't. How challenging is it to drive to the gym?
10. I mean, challenging, no, 1.
Oh, a 1? Okay. That means you often arrive on autopilot. And the importance of driving to the gym, well, you got to get there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so there it is. So we can kind of take a look at that one. Also, another preliminary one is about getting dressed for the workout. So how big of a deal is it for you to get yourself ready to go to the gym?
Maybe a 2.
A 2. And how do you rate, how do you rate your ability to do it?
10.
Yeah, again, give yourself a
I've
level.
been dressing myself for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. How challenging is it to get dressed for the workout?
Challenging too.
Two, it is. And how important is it for you to be dressed when you go for your
It
workout?
is very important. I would say 12.
All right.
I made that mistake once. I'm not doing
Yeah.
it.
But the police officers were so nice.
They
So,
were.
yeah. Now, let me just point out for everyone's understanding here that Anja has pretty much given those two activities the same ratings. Yeah, size is a little bit larger for one than the other. It's interesting that that getting dressed takes more time, energy, resources than driving to the gym. But I get it. I completely get it.
I
But
think I'd drive it too. I'd make it equal. Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
then you're making everything the same, which is far less interesting to look at. Okay. Challenge, that's the only difference. You said, look, it's easy to drive to the gym. It's more challenging for me to get ready to go.
Well, I have to match things. The
Well,
cars
of
up
course
there.
you do. People underestimate the amount of energy that requires. It's phenomenal. All right, but if I look at all four of these activities on the change grid at the same time, see if this tells you anything. The act of doing the workout has her as an expressive, amiable driver, solidly in power, just slightly north of the heart line, which means she's still trying to succeed in some sort of a test, a growth sort of a thing. Remember, anything north of the heart line are puzzles in search of a solution. So the closer to the heart line, the closer you are to that solution. And if it's south of the heart line, these are things that have been solved. So that's why ability is greater than challenge, because you figured it out. It's all been done. Well, even if it's slightly above the heart line, it means you're still paying attention to some variables to see what you can do to optimize them, to get an even better work out of either of these varieties. Also, just so you guys know, one being above two does not mean anything at all. The truth is that both of these activities plot right there, that intersection of those two lines. Well, if you've got one activity, it'll be right on top of that intersection. But if you've got two, it's going to put one slightly above, one slightly below. So these two are at the same location. Similarly, if you had three activities plotting there, there'd be another circle right here. And if you had four, there'd be another circle right there. Their relative position means nothing. The only thing that it means is that they're all sharing the same spot. If you have five or more activities plotting somewhere, the system automatically creates a legend down here to let you know what the activities are that are plotting where it's put. I think it puts an alpha character. Okay, so all this is really, really good. Does anyone have any concerns about the plotting for these two activities that are very far down grid?
Yeah, it's
Well,
just
I-
automatic.
Right. And so
But
we know.
Also, aren't I prone to addictions of alcohol and drugs, etc.?
Okay, look, being at a place on the change grid doesn't make you a substance abuser, but being a substance abuser is going to fall in predictable places on the change grid. So it's not a two-way cause and effect sort of. It's good though. But there are two sets of observations we want to make when we're looking at something this far down grid. On the one hand, I don't know who said it. I think it was David. Just said, "Well, you're on autopilot on these. You're just really good at these activities. These don't require any real conscious thought on your part whatsoever." Yeah.
Nope, the alarm goes off, you roll out of bed, you start
Right.
putting on your clothes.
You've got habits and routines and things like that that have taken over. Remember, if something moves from being a puzzle to being a puzzle that has been solved here in Power, to being a puzzle that you can actually develop a repeatable process for the outcome. That's what we're talking about in Power Apathy. This is about building systems, processes, procedures, routines, habits, documentation, et cetera, et cetera. This is where all this figuring out that we've done starts to formalize. So that it's easier for us, because again, look what we're saying, to move that far down grid, we're lowering the perceived challenge as we are building the perceived ability. So it just means that if we are in, let's say we did an activity that was difficult the first time we did it, but we figured out how to do it. And now that we're doing it again, we can pretty much go, I'll just do it the way that I did it before. I'll just be very, stick with my method, follow my system, whatever it is. When it gets down to apathy, now those are locked in, if you will. So yeah.
Makes
The
sense.
And
mastery.
that's behavioral, that's just how human behavior is in general. When you think about neuroscience, right? It says once hard, now easy, which just means you have a strong synaptic connection.
Yep.
So when I'm looking at these four activities here, and I think about the behavioral pattern of mastery, you have motivation, ability, and a trigger. So those three are typically studied in terms of how people form habits and how they form mastery. So it
Mhm.
seems like the top two, 1 and 2, have a higher motivation
That's correct.
than the 5 and 6. And
Right.
the ability that 5 and 6 is that while they're probably equal in some sorts, but the motivation drives it up more.
Yeah, in fact, let's take a look at that. I'll change the background to the engagement rings, just so we can isolate to there. So as I said, when it comes to activities number 1 and 2, Anja is in powerful intention, outgrid intention, if you will. Yeah, I would not be at all surprised if, as close as that is, it's like I want to consider it to be right there. So she, when it comes to her workouts, she operates from a place of very strong intention, and that's what gets her engaged. And that's pretty much what you said, Anja, right? I mean, it's like, no,
Yeah.
you've made the decision. This is what you do. So the intention is what's really pushing to the engagement. No one's holding a weapon to her head to do this. So
T,
yes.
is it fair to say that 5 and 6 either might be perfunctory or they might be unhappy about having to do that?
Yeah, well, they're in, I think for this particular situation, I would just say they're necessary evils.
Right.
She's got to get dressed. She's got to she's got to get in the car and go wherever it is she's going. And so there is kind of a perfunctory sort of just detaily, we talked last time around about the difference between things that are mission critical and things that are mission incidental. These are mission incidental activities. Getting dressed and driving to the gym changes nothing. So what's mission critical is getting these workouts done. Right. And so the plotting for these two is very strong, very powerful. Now, by the way, we have not answered the question yet. Is that the ideal location? But nevertheless, right now, this is a very strong location that can predictably tell us that she is very, very likely to go ahead and get this all done. On the other hand, activities number 5 and 6, back to whoever brought up motivation, the motivation is much lower because look at the engagement rings. Suddenly, we're no longer in even any intention. We're not even consciously aware of it. When it comes to getting dressed and driving, she's hypo-aware. Sorry, yeah, hypo-aware. That means she often gets dressed or ends up at the gym with very little recollection about how that all happened. So it's just so autopilot. She grabs her clothes, she throws them on, she gets the keys, she hollers, "Tom, hurry up," and then off they go. And so, yeah,
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned though, I'll just say she likes to match. So I wonder, like, if you didn't have matching attire, would that shift the that particular activity that day? Like, would that
I would
shift it?
say that if we sent Anja a surprise pack of a dozen new workout tops and a dozen new workout bottoms and coordinating shoes for all of them, it would take her longer that next morning to get ready for the gym.
That's not true. I
But
keep
at,
them in order.
what's that?
I have them in order. I wear them. I make
There you
note of
go,
it.
right. And so sooner or later, they're just going to
I
get
do.
into her, she's going to get them into her rotation.
Yes, exactly.
That's what it is. That's what,
Yeah.
and by the way, again, that's strong evidence that this has become a part of a system. What she's experiencing now is because she had gone through power apathy where those systems were built. Or forget calling it power apathy, just look at what's happening energetically. So on her way down, she went through expressive analytical and driven analytical, right? To end up down here with those activities, that's the territory she would have traveled through. So think about what those energies are telling her to do. So get it done, figure it out, have some fun with it. I don't want you to look like a schlub, but you don't want to be wasting all kinds of time, blah, blah, blah. So she went through that. And that's how that power apathy energy played out to give her the time to be able to delegate these two questions to routine, to habit. So we don't necessarily have to delegate things to another person or delegate things to technology. We can often just delegate things to tradition. Think of all the words you could use: habit, routine, whatever.
Obsessive compulsion.
Obsessive compulsion. Yes. We can talk
Yeah.
about where that
Yeah.
disorder lives.
And they study that a lot. I have a lot of activities that would grid downgrid, but that studied a lot in like high performing people, like even the Steve Jobs and people like that. They would say they do things so they can minimize decision making for like these routine and
Absolutely.
rote things, and then that way they can really focus on that energy or put that energy to other things.
That's right. The more things that we can end up locking into habits, routines. I forget what they said, that it takes 21 days to create a habit and like 2 or 3 months, I forget the number of weeks, to just make it automatic. So even a habit is something that has a higher level of conscious awareness around it than ultimately doing things autopilot like we're talking about down here.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
So
now,
Anja's a genius.
well, so as least as these 4 activities are concerned, she seems to be doing very well for herself.
I told you I could dress myself.
There it is. Now, I will bring to your guys' attention as you start to craft more and more activity lists that while it's okay to plot activities that are mission incidental, in the long run, they're just going to add clutter to your change grid. So even when you're just doing this for yourself, you're just having some fun, throwing some things onto your activity list. You always want to think about, do I really want to take the time and energy to do a deeper dive into that particular activity? Or should I liberate the space on the grid and the space on the list and the whatever to just focus on the things that are more mission critical or more yeah, there you go. Any of those things. But in the short run, just plot it. Anything is plottable of the change grid. That's a very fundamental truth. The question is, are you plotting the right things on the change grid that are going to give you, remember, this is the oracle of the self. So the things that are going to help you talk to you in the most productive kind of way. So these locations are saying something to you. So yeah. All right.
KT,
Yep.
we often talk about what's the best place to be on the change grid for mission critical activities.
Yep.
Would you consider 1 and 2 to be in the right spot?
Well, that's going to be a quiz question for you guys. I want to add one more to it just because it's pretty much, are these 2 more? So Anja, completing your weight training. Well, how big of a task is that?
5.
5, she says, tentatively.
Hmm.
5.
I'd say 6.
Well, it
Actually,
takes resources. You got to have the equipment. You got to have the
and
one.
it's hard.
Yeah. Well, hard again is revealed by the change grid. So let's think that just as a reminder, these 4 things are our inputs. So we input our assessment of size, ability, challenge, and importance. And the output is that it's going to tell us how engaged we are, how motivated we are, how likely we are to follow through and get the thing done, what kind of, what type and level of support we're going to need. So I think that when we were talking about, yeah, I'll get it done, that's the outcome that we'd be looking at based on where you are. Like, because we could tell you, there's plenty of other places in the change grid you would not be getting it done.
I was going to ask that question actually, along with what David was just asking. When we're talking about best scenario, is the best scenario based on an outcome that we actually wanted? Okay.
Yeah, and so that's what I want to look at next. But do you see, because these 4 activities are all about completing some aspect of her workout, And what we really are looking at is not the breakdown as much as we're just looking at what's going on with her, generally speaking, when it comes to her workout. I wanted to plot these other two as well. So we just
Got
see,
it.
does one stick out in a different way for some reason? All right, so Anja, how's your ability to complete your weight training? How good are you at it?
4. 7?
4?
You say a 4?
Yeah, I get it done, but it's difficult.
No.
It's difficult.
Okay, difficult is over here.
Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, what's the
What
question?
is your ability? Ability is made up of very concrete things.
7.
7, right? So you have the
7,
physical capabilities, you've got the energy. There's also some knowledge and some understanding. You have to know what movement you're trying to do for what reason, etc. So that's ability. Challenge, how difficult is it for you to get that weight training done?
8.
8. And so, yeah, keep in mind that what we're answering when we're doing our own ChangeGrid is, how do I rate my ability to get this taken care of to my standard, my satisfaction? Remember, you're saying your own standards. So that'll come up in just a moment. How important is it that you get your weight training done?
12.
12. Very good. Do y'all notice that other than the size factor, she's in the same spot?
Yep.
How about when it comes to stretching? How big of a job, or how many resources does stretching take? So
I would say
time.
3.
No, 5 or 6. You really do it.
Okay,
but
that's an outcome.
Yeah, I'm trying to, he's saying, ask the question again.
Okay, size is all about the amount of resources a task requires.
Need the minute?
So resources are things like time, physical space,
Time, space.
money, energy.
Equipment.
So it depends. Like, let's say that you were doing your stretching using that
Let's make it a 4.
a 4.
Yeah.
4. Yeah. Now I can tell you that in my earlier days, stretching was something that would take up at least half of my overall workout time.
Pretty close.
I had a trainer who was big into both static and dynamic stretching. So I needed certain pieces of equipment to be able to do it. I needed floor space to be able to do it. I needed access to bar, all that sort of stuff. Well, can you hear that those things start making it a bigger job? It's a bigger
Yeah.
deal. You know, I can't just put my arm up against the side of a wall and twist my shoulder so I'm getting a little bit of a deltoid stretch, you know. No, depending on what your stretching includes, it could be a much bigger task.
That might be a 5. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah. Okay, so a 5. And I'm trying to think, you know, when people are saying they're going to go to their Pilates class, it's amazing how many people go to Pilates classes and don't realize that Pilates in its true form involves very complicated equipment.
Yeah.
That whole Pilates stretch table and all that. Well, if you want to say complete my Pilates, I'm going to say the perceived size or the relative size is going to be impacted by that. So this is just about resources. How many resources is this going to take in terms of, well, any resource you can think of, but generally time, money, floor space, whatever it requires.
Yes, it's definitely a 5 or a 6.
Yeah. Okay. Your ability is a very concrete kind of a thing. The answer is, can you do it or not? And if you're someplace in between yes and no, where are you? So what is your ability? Knowledge, skill, experience? How do you rate your ability to get your stretching done?
7.
A 7 it is. Oh, pattern seems to be continuing. Okay. And how challenging is it for you to get your stretching done? Go ahead. Don't resist.
It's a good 7, 8. Yeah.
7.
A 7. Dare to be different. Because look, all these other aspects of the workout, stretching is ever so slightly less challenging than getting the core, the cardio, and the weight training done.
You know what? I've got to make that an 8.
All righty. There you go. And how important is it?
12.
A 12. All
Okay,
right. So
12.
Yeah. Now, don't think that just because all of Anja's breakdowns end up in the same spot, that there wasn't value in breaking it down. The
Mhm.
reason why there is value in breaking it down is because while she might be at the same place for all these, that doesn't mean that the ideal location for all of these is the same place, right? So
Right.
we're going to take a deeper look at this and we're going to figure out, wait a second, are we really just celebrating and going like, yeah, Anja can do her workout. She's getting it all done. Yay, yay, yay. My work is done. No, my work is just beginning. So and there you go, all four plotting at the same little place. So, and I don't know, I'm not explaining this as I do this, but you guys can just scroll down anytime you want, make some changes, view the change grid, scroll down. You can change the background image if it helps you see things a little more clearly. But again, anytime I can encourage you to just look at the composite diagram, that's what I want you to do, because you should be getting better and better at understanding things through this pile of layers that are giving you a little bit more information. Are you guys finding yourself able to do that? Look through the layers? instead of
Yes.
Layers?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it really helps you get more. This is a holistic picture, as it should be. It's the composite diagram. All right, so let's look at this. Getting my core training done. Okay, core training is anything around your from your lower abs to your obliques to your lower back. That's that whole core kind of a side of things. So where on the change grid do you think someone should be in order to perform that task as elegantly as possible? Have we talked already about the difference between effective, efficient, and elegant?
I don't
No.
remember.
Oh,
I remember hearing it, but I couldn't tell you.
okay,
now.
here it is real quick. Effective just means it'll work. Efficient means it works and it streamlines things as far as our use of resources, etc. Elegant means it uses the absolute fewest resources to get to where we're going. So generally, we're happy to find something that is effective. We're a little bit better off if it's an efficient way of doing things because we're not squandering resources. But boy, if we want to take things to the ultimate level, we got to go for elegance. What is the most direct way, the simplest, efficient method of getting somewhere? That's what elegance is all about. So we're trying to figure out, how can I move someone not to just a place on the change grid that would be more effective, but we want one that would be effective, efficient, and simple, or elegant, so we can stick with our 3 E's. So if we were going for elegance, if we wanted, or if Anja wanted, because we don't get to tell Anja where her ideal locations are, right? This is the oracle of the self. Anja's going to tell Anja where her ideal locations are. On the other hand, if I was the trainer for a professional sports team and my job is to get the best out of every one of those athletes, then I will be picking where the ideal location is, and I will be making sure that every one of those athletes moves their performance to that particular location. So you guys get the difference? It's like this is oracle of the self. You guys got to be able to do this in your own mind, and you're entitled to set your standards wherever you want. And so we'll get into our little coaching modality here. So Anja,
Mhm.
are you happy with your core training results, performance?
Yeah, but I would like to increase it. But
Oh, all right. Well, by how much would you like to increase it? How are
by
you?
the exact amount that my stomach protrudes past my hip bones.
Oh, all righty then. Specialized equipment will be required to measure that. But what you've just done is you've said that I need to have a bit more challenge. Right? I mean, ultimately, what you just did when you're changing a standard, again, I don't know if we've really gone through the change grid maneuvers as basically as we would normally go through them, but one of the upgrade maneuvers is to increase the standards against which you are measuring your performance. And so if you'd like to be able to do it faster, more deeply, flatter, whatever it is, you're talking about an increase in some sort of standard. And that's going to move you up grid. Well, from here, up grid, we could move you up to there, but recognize that in moving you up to there, if I was just going to go straight up, what that would require is you to shrink your perceived level of ability. Do I want you to think you are less able to do something? Any of you guys who are the
No.
developmental?
No.
No. So I don't want to move you vertically. I would need to stay on the lane. I can't move you through a vacuum. I have to move you on the axes. And if I'm going to raise the challenge by a little knot, look what just happened. I'm no longer in that outgrid spot of engagement. I scratch that, of intention. I'm now engaged.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, so that's execution. So when I drive myself out there, I create a small experiment. I call them just a micro experiment, and I'm
Yeah.
doing things very deliberate, and I'm looking specifically for a result. That it matters not if it is pass or fail per se. I'm designing and learning engagement. And that's neuroscience, because the idea of neuroplasticity actually grows in your sleep. It
Sure.
doesn't, grow like when you're at the gym lifting, same thing. Your muscle doesn't grow then, it grows in rest and recovery. But you have to stimulate it, and then you have to repeat that pattern enough to where it's sticking, like, the motivational thing
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. And so, as we said, and what Anja says that she'd like to take it to the next level. She obviously used her own words to do that, but that was an increase in challenge. So, Anja, do you think you're going to need to have any increase in ability in order to meet that challenge? Or at the level of ability you currently possess, do you believe that there is greater challenges you could handle at your current ability level?
Well, I think that there are greater challenges, and as I work out, I'm constantly reevaluating if something is not working or if something is hurt. The thing that holds me back is I don't want to get hurt. If I get hurt, then that's
Absolutely. No,
going
you're
to set
absolutely
me
right.
back. So I'm
Absolutely right.
cautious about what I do, and I talked about like the back stuff that I just added on. I have changed my core work to include that, and because there's a TVM, there's a muscle below
Yep,
the muscles that make your six pack, right?
sure.
And that's what I need to work on, and I need to strengthen my back because I was getting a little bit of lower back pain. Okay. So I'm worried about the lower back pain, and I sought out a couple of people that I respect at the gym, got their opinions, and then I started looking things up online. So I think that my ability is good, but I'm careful about what I do, and I have that would definitely plot out grid my back things.
All right. And so let's take a look at what Anja has just shared there. So you guys can see how this tension energy stuff is playing out. She does not want to be injured. So imagine if I came along. Well, let's do an example. Anja, how long is your plank? Standard plank?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. So if I said, all right, well, that's certainly good core workout, but it's very taxing on the lower back. So am I going to say, well, Anja, instead of 3, you should go up to 4? That's your next goal, is to go up to 4. Well, you would perceive jumping by 33% to be what level of challenge?
Kind of high.
What's that?
I would go up by 30 seconds, and I would think that would be not too challenging, but a minute might be challenging.
Right. And so if we said, well, let's increase it by 30 seconds, that might move you up to that very spot, that 9. But if I said, oh, no, we want you to go all the way up to 4 minutes right away. Well, that level of challenge could be something that could very much put her into a place where she's in danger. An expressive driver. An expressive driver is first and foremost a driver, right? They want to make something happen, but they're willing to roll the dice. They're willing to take the thrill. They're willing to go for the gold or whatever. Now, if they were, younger or whatever, maybe that would make a difference, or less concerned about injury, because young people tend to be stupid. And so maybe they would do that. But I'm just saying, like, no, 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 we have to be very conscious of this, not putting myself in jeopardy. And so we just want her to move up one little point, and that would put her in an ideal location for the core training to happen. Now, as we move her to that point in terms of challenge, and she, may initially find that ever so slightly challenging, what's actually happening as she finds that easier and easier is her perceived ability is going up. And that might make her even more driven because she's reestablished the new norm. So now she would be performing ultimately at the level she wants. So if I was Anja's trainer, I would be saying to her, initially, we just want you to increase 30 seconds, but I want you to find 30 seconds very soon to be easy to do, or something that is straightforward, no problem for you to do. And then I just want you to stay there for X number of weeks or whatever. What I've done is I've now moved her up grid by 1 point. Then, because she increased her natural ability to do that, she increased her ability by 1 point. And now look where she's at. She's solidly in engagement, and still in a place where there is enough challenge to keep things interesting.
Well, that's interesting that you said that, because what one girl suggested to me was taking a kettlebell, and while I'm planking, move it from left to right and then switch
Oh,
hands from right to
yeah.
left. That's what I've just started doing, and it definitely increased that for me. And it's less boring, and it's less, I did the 3 minutes with it, and didn't think I could do it. I actually waited until the core room was empty to even try. And I did it with nothing at first, then I did it with really light weights, but I can do it with a 10-pound weight.
Well, now this is this is this is me with my workout background just talking. I would be concerned that adding any weight to your upper body is going to put greater strain on your lower back,
I
particularly
heard you say
if
that
the
when you said that
kettlebell
about planking, yeah.
is out at an arm. If you're doing it to strengthen your lower back, I would suggest that there are very good exercises that don't put you into a vulnerable position as far as lower back is concerned. I'm only saying this because my Achilles heel, if you will, is my lower back. And if I'm not very aware of what I'm asking my lower back to do, I can end up in trouble for a month or longer. I injured my back doing yoga because I twisted too far. I'm on the floor. I lean my legs over one direction, and I said, "Oh, I can lean further, and I can hold it longer." And I was unable to stand up for almost a month. So,
Wow.
so that's the only thing. I think if you really are wanting to focus on your core, and Brian, you're the doctor among us. I think that you're changing. I think I'm just changing the whole physics of her movement if she's got weights in her hands.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime you elongate the body, you can always add an extra amount of stress. And to your point, back certainly, supports the stomach. And so working both and changing how you're engaging it, like that could be done through breath, that could be done with a band, that could be done with different things other than, elongating the body so that you're adding more stress. You want to just strengthen the actual exercise itself. And so I was going to ask T, like any of those upgrade uh, maneuvers, the increasing the standards, changing the tasks, awakening, boosting emotions, you can
Mhm.
do the same similar thing, like not too far up, but enough to
Yep.
where is elegant enough to to reach an outcome, but then also out, right? Because you can do the same thing with boosting or changing the task as I was just describing.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so, Anja, does that, when you think about the tension management, does that approach make sense? And if it does, how does your back feel about that?
Moving the kettlebell underneath me from side to side
Uh-huh.
made me very aware of lifting my hips. So, and I didn't have any pain in my back from it.
Well, and that's really wonderful. And so remember that pain is weakness leaving the body. So even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, that might be an acceptable amount. You know, the body is not going to change. Brian can tell you, the body is very lazy. It's not going to do anything to build muscle or add strength or anything that would increase its burden to keep you alive and all that kind of stuff, unless it is put in a position where that becomes necessary. And so you're always going to want to go beyond where you already are. But that idea about safety being prominent just says, be careful you don't increase the challenge too much too fast. Just keep that least little bit and you'll be just fine. So Anja, I'll tell you a variation on what your person is suggesting you do. Although honestly, I don't know what the point is. What can you roll? No, you couldn't do it with a kettlebell, but could you roll a dumbbell underneath you from one side to the other so you're not physically picking it up, but you're still moving it?
Yeah.
So a little bit more work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, so those are some thoughts. But I just wanted to see the mechanics of it. What'll happen is Anja will set a new goal for herself, and that alone is going to move her from that really working level of intention to being actually engaged in it. Because now there's a little bit more of a test. There's a little bit more of a game that's being played.
Yeah, you know what? When Brian mentioned changing the task, that could certainly work too. Maybe instead of a plank, there's a machine in my gym that focuses on the lower back and the lower back only. Maybe instead of the plank, maybe she does that machine. That would raise her tension.
Yep. And that's good too. Anything you can do to mix it up. The body just responds to difference more so than it responds to sameness.
Yeah.
So whether it's go for longer, do a little heavier, do a different exercise, you just got to keep it all mixed up. And the body is constantly having to adapt. And the body's very good at adapting, and you'll see things as a result. All right, now again, I know we're at the top of the hour, but I wanted to just kind of, so that's the ideal location for her back. But let's say, no, let's go to the other one, Anj. Let's talk about your weight training. So when it comes to your weight training, your level of strength, etc., how satisfied are you with where you are right now?
Well, I just made a change in that about a month ago. No, 3 weeks ago. I went back to doing bicep curls, which I had stopped doing.
You're satisfied with it.
I'm satisfied with it. Yes, I'm definitely challenged. It's hard for me to do it, but I do it.
Okay, and so would you like to let it remain there for a while, or would you like to move it up a level?
I'm not ready to increase it. I haven't quite mastered it.
Okay, great. And so its location is absolutely fine where it is. Now we look at one of the other ones. You said there was some strength or cardio training. Where's your cardio?
Really good. I'm really happy with it.
Okay, don't want to increase it, nothing like that at all?
No, not yet.
Okay, and then the last one was core, but no, was it core? No, what was the last one? Oh, what am I doing? I'm looking at it. It's right here. Stretching.
Oh, stretching. Yeah, I just added a bunch of things to my stretching. I pretty much review it once a month.
All right. And so again, from an oracle of the self perspective, you can now say, this is where I am on the ChangeGrid, and this feels very right to me. When it comes to doing my core training, I know I've got some room to increase the challenge, which will make my core stronger, blah, blah, blah. I can do that. But these other ones right now, where they are is serving me quite well. Is that good?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So now again, for everybody, and I know we're at the top of the hour, but I want to kind of see this. Let's assume that Anja had engaged us to be her team of coaches and trainers for her to be able to qualify for the Olympics. What would we be saying about where she is right now when it comes to her weight training, her flexibility training, cardio, etc.?
Not engaged enough.
Right. We got to move her. We got to move her. There's a deadline. And so there's a very important thing for you to always keep in mind when it comes to determining desired locations. And that is the desired location for a specific activity could be in very different places depending on the desired outcome of the individual or whoever it is that's hired you, in the case of it being more of a business sort of a thing. As an individual, Anja is 100% entitled to set her standards for herself anywhere she wants. And if these are serving her well, then there is nothing to do but celebrate. But if we start hearing Anja say things like, I just, I had to move some bags of whatever, and it's just feeling heavy. Well, then we could say like, well, do you think it's time to be a little stronger? And so, then we can start moving it around. But until she starts to give any indication that she is not happy where she is, then fine. Have at it. Enjoy your life. It's all good. And plus, look, she's inside the green circle. Good for you. You're out there doing what needs to be done in a way that doesn't make you have to get out there and stir up life. This is good. You've established it. So that's all. That's yeah, it's all good. All good. All good. All right. Questions, comments about what we've done today?
I really value and appreciate this aspect of the grid itself, the composite, in terms of unpacking that narrative underneath, because oftentimes those are the things that are unconscious, especially when we've been doing them for a long time. So I think this is a great tool for that kind of analysis,
Yeah.
periodically, particularly when you want to, I call it RTB, raise the bar. You have to go through that and just see. So we look at this in narrative medicine a lot. Like, what's the story around health behavior and why people aren't shifting to do things that would help their cause and not rely on medicine? So
that's right. That's right. Well, and because you are looking at a composite, we tend to favor certain levels, certain layers of the ChangeGrid when we're looking at one, even though we know all four of them. I just want to draw one more to your attention, and well, one more that's happening simultaneously, just so you can kind of really appreciate where Anja is right now as far as these activities are concerned. Anja right now is inside of the green circle, which means she is living a peaceful, harmonious, all the good little attributes you want to put in there. That's her life. She's living a very nice, life there. We don't live at the center of the ChangeGrid. We're constantly leaning one way or another. In this case, she is leaning out grid when it comes to her personal health and fitness. And so she could be further out grid, be right here, but that's on an edge now. But she's inside of there. And look, she's a little bit upgrade, which means she's a little bit more, what do I want to say, a little bit more, I'm going to use the word engaged, but there's something she's working on. There's a puzzle. Her level of challenge was 1 point higher than her perceived level of ability. So there's something that's being figured out there. Growth is happening. She is on the border of this execution thing, which means that she can very well be getting this stuff done, but it doesn't require her to anyway like proclaim her engagement. Get her in the environment and she does what needs to be done. She's engaged enough in whatever those activities happen to be. And these gray semicircles, these are about the intensity. Well, she is at, let me go ahead and change the background so I can show you guys what this is. If we just change to intensity, layer 2, she is at a 5th degree level of intensity around that activity. That's great. That's leaning away from center enough to just kind of know, let's put some energy behind this. Let's go ahead. Let's make this all happen. So yeah, so you're doing good there, Anja.
Yay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, now everybody.
I'd be doing better, but I really, really, really in the back of my mind do not want an injury.
No, we can tell you, I work out with a trainer. And so I can tell you that I hear Mike say this to me frequently and to many of the other people that he's working with that are, I'll just say, above 50. And he'll say to them that if they really want to look and feel their very best for you for the rest of their lives, the number one thing they must do is not injure themselves. Those injuries can not only derail you temporarily, but they may never heal properly. And
Right.
so why do that? What are we trying to prove to anybody? All we're trying to do is to develop a healthy habit, a healthy routine that helps us to strengthen our body, maintain our flexibility, and be able to run far enough, fast enough to at least give the bear a run for his money.
I just have to outrun whoever I'm with.
Exactly. That's so true. It's so true. So
That's
true.
awesome.
All right. Okay, so you guys do have homework. This is what I'm saying. You don't all need to do it, because if you all show up with your homework done, why did I just say that? I just gave you guys an out. You all have to have your homework done.
I'm out.
I want you to go to your ChangeWorks online system. I want you to do this. I'm happy to lead you through it, or if you encounter anything. I just want you to create an activity list for yourself. And do your little ratings. Let's play with it, so you can see the broad diversity of ways that the ChangeGrid can actually be applied. And obviously, you can delete things when you want. So you can add, delete. You can edit these activities as well. If you want to just change the language in some of them, you can certainly do that too if you want to. So you can change anything. All right, questions, comments?
No, it's good.
No, good session, T.
All righty. Glad you
Yeah,
liked it.
great.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Have a good day.
You Bye, too. you
Thank you,
too.
David.
Dobranoc.